Hello and welcome to another edition of Community Tapestry. My name is Napoleon Bell and I am the Executive Director with the City of Columbus Community Relations Commission. Myself and Tony Bell will be interviewing several people from around the community about some great things that are going on. But I had the great opportunity to speak to Nina DeVillari, and if that name sounds familiar to you, she was the former Miss America. She was at Columbus State, speaking to the young women there and how to empower them and bring diversity awareness and how she's dealt with them as the former Miss America. Nina DeVillari, is that correct?
It is correct.
Okay. You are the 2015 Miss America winner.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now tell me, what was it like growing up and aspiring to be Miss America?
Well, I will say I grew up watching Miss America in some sense, but I grew up in a very small town in Oklahoma. I was born in Syracuse, New York. My family moved to Oklahoma when I was 4 and then to Michigan when I was 10, so I feel like I experienced quite a few areas growing up. And I had a lot of stereotypes and misconceptions growing up. If people would always ask me if I was going to have an arranged marriage or what the red dot meant or if I worship cows, and so many of these remarks weren't necessarily meant to be malicious, but really simply due to the fact of ignorance. And so I think it really wasn't until college, I would say, that I really started advocating for this, decided to compete for Miss America for scholarship money, partially for scholarship money, also, for the advocacy work behind a job like this, and that's kind of how I got started, and it turned out okay.
Knowing that you didn't get to where you are now without any help, and you spoke previously about mentorship and mentoring. Who was your mentor? Who helped you through those tough times of growing up, but then also when you decide, okay, I'm going to become Miss New York, I'm going to become Miss America? Who did that?
Yes, my sister and the women in my family, I should say, were really the mentors that I had. My sister is now just graduated medical school, is starting her residency in neurology, which makes her the golden child in my family. Mm-hmm. But also my mom, she is a computer programmer, and my grandmother as well. She's still living in India. She actually founded a school 70 years ago, started as an elementary school, and now has evolved into an institution, a degree-granting institution. So really incredible work that she has been able to do, and that kind of, I suppose, role model in my family has really helped me grow into the woman that I am today.
Wow, so it sounds like your family had a lot of drive in your family to succeed, and with all that drive and seeing the success, there must have been a lot of pressure on you to really fill those great shoes.
Absolutely. I felt an immense amount of pressure coming from my family. And I think a lot of South Asians and Asian Americans growing up feel that pressure culturally. For me personally, I felt a significant amount of pressure to go into the medical field. And that's what I was doing when I was in college. I was initially on the track to medicine. I was pre-med. And after Miss America, your life kind of changes and you're able to go in so many different directions. And so for me now, I'll be pursuing my MBA and my Master's in Public Policy, focusing on international relations. Especially being the first Indian American Miss America has really allowed me to cultivate a new niche that no one has done before. So I'm really excited to explore that.
Now, talking about that, becoming the first Indian Miss America, we understand there were some issues that came out of that and some negative things that came out, negative feedback. What do you think about that, and how did you deal with that?
So one of the things I experienced was a significant amount of backlash on social media. And through that, I was able to really create this negative conversation, or take this negative conversation and create a positive one. And that's something I feel like I've really been able to address on my speaking tour with colleges, universities. I mentioned this is my 36th stop that I've been able to speak with, and that's been really incredible because it's not just me championing this, it's every other young person. And I can honestly say that for every one negative comment, tweet, or post, I received hundreds, if not thousands, of words of positive encouragement. And so to spark this discussion globally and see the support of so many people champion this alongside me has been really incredible.
It sounds like you are breaking so many barriers with the Miss America pageant. How does that, you know, you're not the stereotypical person that wins the Miss America pageant.
Absolutely. And I think it's really interesting. I'll share a fun fact. Vanessa Williams is probably one of our most famous Miss Americas. And she also represented the state of New York, was also Miss Syracuse. Both of us were Miss Syracuse, Miss New York, Miss Americas, which has never happened before, but also two very historic Miss Americas. And 30 years to the date when I won, you know, Vanessa had previously won. And she experienced a very similar backlash when she won Miss America. And it just goes to show that 30 years later, we're still having that same conversation in a different light, but essentially the same message. And so to have that dynamic and really talk about this more has been really interesting.
You know, what's amazing about that is that we still continue to have that conversation. And I'm glad that you're continuing that with your platform. But I tell you what, tell us a little bit about your platform and being Miss America.
Yes, so my platform is celebrating diversity through cultural competency. As I mentioned, I grew up with a lot of stereotypes and misconceptions, but this is really not about opening a discussion about race. It's finding an understanding between all cultures, religions, backgrounds, ethnicities, and finding a way to communicate in an open and respectful manner. And so that's primarily what I advocate for, and it includes all groups of people. And I think that's the first step into building a more inclusive society, is being able to communicate.
You know, that is truly amazing. And the next piece that you talk about is the Circle of Unity. You know, I believe that's a social media piece. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It is a social media piece. So initially, I had partnered with the YMCA and YWCA when I was in college and launched a campaign called Circles of Unity. And what we did was we painted unity tiles with the girls and guys of the YWCA. They were elementary, middle school children. And they just painted a tile that they thought was representative of who they were and something fun. And we placed the tiles around areas in the community, from Starbucks to libraries, restaurants, and everyone who saw the tile, we asked them to take a picture of it and kind of tweet what they thought it represented in terms of unity and diversity. And so that was a really fun way, I thought, to get the students and community involved. Unfortunately, as Miss America, I can't paint tiles everywhere I go as much as I wish. So we just kind of tweaked that to a social media campaign. So I asked everyone to tweet me their own thoughts, pictures, videos about what they think it means to be culturally aware, and hashtag Circles of Unity. So it's still going. It's been ongoing for 2.5 years now.
Hashtag Circles of Unity?
Yes.
But you can also post your pictures that way.
Post your picture about whatever it may be that you think is representative of yourself and diversity.
You say that's been going on for 2 years?
2.5 years. I still keep up with it. I retweet and favorite and all that stuff. So just tweet at me or Instagram, and I love to repost.
Right. Well, let me ask you about social media, because I mean, it sounds like you grasp it, but I definitely do not totally grasp it. But with Circles of Unity, how can people connect with you on that?
Yes, so you can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Instagram at Real Nina D, Twitter at Nina Davallori. Also my website, ninadavallori.com. All of the information on Circles of Unity is there, as well as kind of what I'm doing and keeping up with my travels.
Well, you were here talking to young women. And what do you tell young women who want to aspire to be Miss America?
Be yourself. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it is so much easier said than done. And it's so easy to lose yourself, especially in today's society, if you don't know who you are, love who you are, and stand up for who you are.
You know, you sound like a woman with so much knowledge, and you've traveled all over the world, you know, but you're only 25.
I'm 25.
You have a birthday coming up.
I do! You did your homework!
Yes. Well, you know, what's up for Miss Nina Davallori next? You talk about getting your master's degree. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well, I will be applying for my master's for the fall of 2016, like I mentioned, focusing in international relations. Hoping to be in the political arena. Definitely certainly see myself in the role of a connection between U.S. and India, especially now as our countries economically have much closer ties. So that's been an avenue that I'm exploring, and in 10 years, I don't know, hopefully you'll see me in that arena.
Now, there's a Miss New York, a Miss America. Now, isn't there a Miss Universe? Or is it?
So there's Miss USA.
Miss USA?
Yeah,
Okay.
so Miss America, Miss USA are two separate organizations.
Okay.
Miss USA is the Donald Trump run organization, and when you win that, you win a modeling contract, essentially.
Okay.
And so they're both two very different organizations. As I mentioned, we're more scholarship, service-based. Neither is better than the other. It just depends on what you want to do.
Miss Nina DeVillari, Miss America 2014. Do you have any parting words for our young ladies out there and women in general?
Yeah, like I said, be yourself, and I think at the end of the day, you're going to have a lot of opinions in terms of a lot of career advice or what path you want to take, and I think no matter what happens or what people tell you, when you lay your head on your pillow at night, you have to do what's best for you. And keep that in mind. Go with your gut instinct. Go with your gut feeling, because majority of times it's right.
You know, thank you so much, Miss America, Miss Nina DeVillari, for this time to really talk about your platform, but you know, the great things that you're doing, and we hope that you continue to do those on for many years. So we look forward to meeting again in your 10-year span to see what you've accomplished and how you've made a positive impact on the communities that you're around. So appreciate your time here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We would like to thank Nina DeVillari, for that incredible interview and inspirational interview about talking on her platform of diversity and diversity awareness. But next, we have coming up some great young people that are learning to code, meaning how to program a computer. We've got a great agency that is working with them over the summer that is really making a difference to get our young kids even more technically savvy in the computer world. We are here on location at the Northland Performing Arts Center. It's an amazing time here because we are here learning about the Kingdom Code Academy, Rise of the Creatives. And we're here speaking with two young gentlemen here, really making a difference out here with our young people. And so it's my pleasure, first of all, to talk to Mr. Pastor Darren Thomas. We're with you, and also your son, Minister Brandon Thomas.
Absolutely, we're glad to be here.
Oh, this is an amazing event. I'm so happy to hear about this, but we want the rest of our viewing audience to hear about it. So first of all, though, Pastor Thomas, tell us a little bit about, you're with Rebirth Worship Center,
Yes.
and you are putting on this program here. What's the message of the Rebirth Worship Center when it comes to the Coding Academy?
At Rebirth, what we do is we teach a message of empowerment. We call it Everyone is the Opinion of God. And with that empowering message, it deals with self-definition. So with events such as Kingdom Code Academy, we're taking the inspiration and the empowerment that individuals experience and feel on a Sunday and now giving them an event to harness it in. We believe, and we're doing all that we can to create a demographic of entrepreneurs within the church. That's the original kingdom. So with Kingdom Code Academy, we're teaching this coding because we very much believe that in our congregation, there's the creatives. There are young people who have apps, utility apps, have apps in them, games apps, the next generation. So we're going to utilize Kingdom Code Academy to harness this creative and see about creating the next generation of IT giants, moguls, all of the above.
Wow, that's incredible, because I just hear in your voice that engagement and that passion to really make a difference, because this is something our young people and older people need to really get involved in.
Absolutely.
Well, let me turn to Mr. Brandon now. We're talking about coding.
Yes.
Now, not everybody is familiar with what is coding. What is coding, and why is it important?
Computer program is very simple. A lot of the programs that we use on our phones, even on our computers, they use programming. It's kind of just like a number binary system that we use to kind of structure it. So today we're going to just go through the very basics. You're not going to come out necessarily and go to MIT necessarily, but it is something that we're going to use to kind of give you an idea of how apps are built and the kind of commands and programs you put in that allow for you to do very simple things like turn things on and off, allow for you to be able to go from one application to another, and even how to make a cartoon. And it kind of shows you how gamers make their different things like Angry Birds and things like that. It's based off of this system. So we're going to teach you the basic outlines of that.
So now is this so it's very basic now, is this the first one that you've been doing?
Yes, sir. This is the very first one. It's the inaugural. So we're very excited. We're looking forward to doing it a lot more. And we're just looking forward to being able to also connect with people from Youngstown. There's some people coming from Indiana. And so we're just really looking to network across borders and different lines, because technology affords afford you that opportunity. And even when we get into the panel discussion later, one of our panelists is from the UK. She's into technology. She's also a pastor over there. And there's also another young lady who goes to FIT in New York, and she'll be through Google Hangout a part of our panel discussion.
So now, will they have some hands-on opportunity? I know that they're going through into some workshops.
Yes.
And then also, you said there's going to be a panel discussion.
Yes, sir.
So this will sound like it's going to be hands-on. Some of that basic work to really get them energized and
Yes.
says, hey, they're able to do this, because for us older folk, and especially me, the work with computers just seems so out there. So this is really going to break that down and give them that basis. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so we're going to take away some of that nervousness and trepidation that sometimes comes with it. Once you actually jump into it, it really is not that bad. And I think a lot of times we feel like if we hit the wrong button, we'll crash or make something happen. And it's not that. We're just going to teach you how to make things, how to create. And that's why it's called Rise of the Creatives. It's actually a book I read, and it was transformational. It's called Program or Be Programmed. And one of the premises is that no other time in history have we had the opportunity to be able to engage in the dominant medium. So normally we just use it, but hopefully from events like this, we'll teach you how to create it, how to engage the collaboration and the entrepreneur that lives inside. So.
Now, I'm looking at you, Pastor, and you're looking at your son. How does this make you feel, though? I mean, it sounds like he's got something that's blossoming here to really make a great impact on our young people here, and which makes an impact, on down the line. How does this make you feel?
Very proud. I'm a proud dad. It's like my sons are my wife and I are heart. And my son Brandon, not just because he's my son biologically, but because he's God's son, he's got a great sense of insight as far as the kingdom and the next move. And one of the things that I'm very big on, especially here at Rebirth, is we cannot fail to have successors. And there's got to be a sharing of the platform so that as the fathers move into the next phase of their life, they provide provision for the sons to now create what they see, and it perpetuates. God does not give everything to one generation. He deposits some in one generation, and then he gives the next to the next. So I'm passing the baton to my son, saying, run with this vision. It's a great vision. And this is the first. Kingdom Code Academy is going to catch on. The next time we come back, we're working on it right now. We're going to have computer labs in different areas so that we can get more and more in touch with it, because we really do believe that there's some giants in our midst, and we just want to do all that we can to provide that opportunity.
Well, we wish you the best, because this, especially nowadays, we really need some of the leaders out there, and as you talk, passing the torch to make that difference.
Absolutely.
We appreciate what you're doing. Continue to do it, and we look forward to the next 2, 3, 4 Kingdom Code Academy.
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity today.
All right. Thanks so much. I'd like to thank Kingdom Code Academy for the work that they're doing with our young people. Now next, I had an opportunity to meet some young people and some older people on our annual Civil Rights Tour, but I want you to meet them also. They have a great story. Hello and welcome to another edition of Community Tapestry. My name is Napoleon Bell, and I'm the Executive Director with the City of Columbus Community Relations Commission. And you know who's next to me?
Do you know?
I hope I know.
Go ahead. Who?
Well, it's Miss Tony Bell. She's my partner and co-host in the Community Tapestry program. We are here to have a great time, but also we're here to really try to inform better the public about what's going on or bringing people together, some great things, and we've got a great program in store for you this time, definitely. Our right off the bat here, we are talking to some of the folk that were our freedom riders on the Civil Rights Tour, and really, how it impacted them, but also, what they've learned and how that impacts today. Because there's so many things going on today that, and dealing with civil rights and human rights and issues between police and community and so on that we're
weaving all these threads together.
Definitely weaving the threads together. And then also those who have supported the tour and supported our young people and really being able to get out there and learn more. So we're happy to have those partners here with us also today. So without further ado, then let's go ahead and get started with our great guests that we have here. So first of all, I'd like to turn to my left, and we have Miss Edna Adelusala. She's a franchise owner and operator of Tim Hortons of the Northern Lights in Columbus Square location. We're so glad to have you here and to be a part of this.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. Well, and then next to her is the big Miss Lucy Bishop. She's a student at Trinity Catholic School. She was also a freedom rider, and so glad to have you here, Lucy.
Thank you.
All right, and then across the table, we have Mr. Frank Brown. He's a technical engineer of the Army National Guard. Was also a student at Columbus State and was a previous coordinator of the Men Initiative. So and a Freedom Rider on the tour also. So glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You know what? We've got just a great diverse group here, and so I'm so happy to really bring you all together because I want to talk about and maybe first of all let me just start with you, Edna, because. The tour, the civil rights tour, that just doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. And it takes people to be involved, to assist, to partner with the tour, but also why they partner. So let me ask you, you a franchise owner of Tim Hortons and also a former police officer, a retired police officer, why did you feel it was important to get engaged and to be involved with the tour?
Let me say that it's really, really important to me as a business person to invest or reinvest in our future. Our young people coming up today, it's very important for them to know and to learn about our past, because if you don't know where we've been, you can't begin to know where we're going. So it's really critical that our youngsters get a real handle on where we've been.
Well, and it just so happens, because you did sponsor a young person, and that young person happens to be Lucy.
Yes.
So, I'm glad to have brought you two together to be able to, to be able to connect with actually who you were able to help be on this tour, along with there was other sponsors or partners who also helped out. So, this was I think your first or second year a part of the tour. Where do you see? Tim Hortons and I always like to say, the locations, the Northern Lights in Columbus Square, but where do you see how well, let me ask you this, do you see yourself, because we've always tried to get our partners actually coming on the tour, so I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, are you?
We would love to have you and
okay.
or one of your up and comings to be a part of the tour. For next year, we're getting the dates. It's always during spring break for Columbus City Schools spring break, but we want to make sure that we get Tim Hortons involved. Especially because of the donuts. I must admit, I do like donuts, but more importantly though, I know that you've always been engaged, with the community, especially have that part of your heart for young people.
Yes.
to really engage them. So what do you see for the future? And let me ask, and what is Tim Hortons? I mean, you guys have got a lot of things going on there too to really invest in young people.
It's true. We have our camp day that happens every year. We donate all of our coffee sales on the first Wednesday in June to send children to camp. And we do that every year. We partner as a company with Columbus City Schools. In particular, the North Linden Elementary School is our partner school that we send youth to camp every year, and we've partnered with them for the last 10 years actually. So every year we send at least 4 children and youth to camps in Canada, and they've enjoyed the benefit of having that international experience. Because we do have a camp in Kentucky as well, but normally or generally speaking, our children go to get that international experience. Right. But I do think it is equally important for our youth and young people to experience what we have to offer here as well. And in that partnership, you're putting me on the spot with what are we going to do?
Most definitely.
I don't know. We have several employees that could benefit from their children going on a tour. Okay. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't mind actually taking you up on going on one myself.
All right.
Love to have
well, you heard it here to be on tour. No, that's great. That's great. Well, let me shift gears a little bit to your I don't know if it's mentee or your sponsee, whatever it might be called, Miss Lucy Bishop. Now, I understand that you just didn't happen upon and says, "Hey, I want to go on the tour," and you were able to go. What did you have to do? Because you're also in the City Leaders Program.
Yes.
So what did you have to do to become, one of those finalists who got the opportunity to be able to go on the tour?
Well, there's like, I think 20 of us in the city leaders group, and we were given the opportunity for 4 people to be able to go, but we had to present a presentation on just some important event or person in African American history. And I chose Langston Hughes, and I used the purse, and I got like, I think you saw it on the tour, but I showed his life in some of his poems, and I got to go with 3 other people.
Great. Excellent.
And what grade are you in, Lucy?
6th.
6th grade. What do you want to be when you grow up?
A lawyer.
Ah.
A lawyer.
Yes.
All right.
So how did this trip help you decide or really confirm for you that you want to be a lawyer?
Well, we got to go to the Southern Poverty Law Center, which was a really cool experience because it has to do with law. And just some of the other things that we saw really encouraged me. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I want to go to show a quick video about the impact that you had, and we taped this on the bus, so the bus was moving a little bit, but we want to be able to show what you felt impacted you the most at that part of the tour. So we'll go to that. We'll go to that right now.
So I think the part that affected me the most was the 16th Street Baptist Church, because those girls who died were around my age, and so I was thinking how sad my family would be if I would be in a church that got bombed like that, and how sad how Sarah Collins would go and want Addie Mae to be alive, and how my sister would feel, my little sister, if I had died and she came home waiting for me. So that affected me a lot. That's it.
All right. Wow, so that was, it almost brings tears to your eyes because, and it looked like you were kind of welling up as far as tears because of that impact. Why did you choose? What was it? And I guess about the 16th Street Baptist Church, where those 4 little girls were killed, of all the locations, what was the really driving piece of that really made a statement and stuck in your mind?
I think it was mostly like I said on the video, how they were my age. I mean, a few years older than me, but and they had family too, so like I said in the video. So I think it's because a lot of the other ones, they were still impactful, but had to do with adults, and these were kids that,
You got to see yourself as part of that history.
Yeah.
So when you came back from the tour, how were you different, or what did you do differently? What did you think about differently?
I don't know. I guess when I would think about African Americans, I think of all the great things they've done and not terrible things. I've never thought of them as being terrible, but just think of the good things that they've done in history, and how Barack Obama is now the president, and how they have impacted our country.
So when you see the news now, and you tend to see African Americans in the news, do you see it as a positive thing?
I guess it depends what they're in the news for. But there's also people of my culture on the news too, so it's not really, I don't know, really.
Yeah. Well, it is very difficult, but I'm glad though that it made a positive impact on you
Yes.
on the tour.
Not really a negative impact.
Okay. And what you think about all those kids who were actually out there marching, and some of them were getting arrested, and they were saying, hey, well, this is what we have to do. How that would you have got out there and marched, with thinking that I might be put in jail for that?
Probably not.
Yeah.
They must have been really, really confident in themselves that they'll be able to make a change. So, yes.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't have.
What's your culture, Lucy?
I'm you mean country-wise, or just because?
You mentioned your culture earlier. So what's your family's country of origin, or what your heritage
We're mostly
is?
Italian and German.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, I'm so happy though that you went on tour. We're going to talk more.
Okay.
Talk more, but because I could talk to you all day. But let's turn to Frank now.
Another person we could talk to all day.
All day. Frank, you were coming from being at Columbus State and also with the Army National Guard, but then coming on the tour. What was it that made the most impact on you on the tour?
That's a very challenging question. The entire tour, a lot of it was very new to me. I haven't really been raised into learning or knowing about history in general. I would say that throughout the entire tour, the Tuskegee Institute was what touched me the most, learning about the Tuskegee Airmen. We were only there for a short amount of time, but it's what touched me the most, being that I'm in the military, and I'm also a college student trying to go to college. And I've been in and out of college for about 8 years, just struggling. I haven't really been excelling academically like I would like, and that's, some of it is just on my own part, but I'm trying to, I guess, have a paradigm shift, I believe, from my childhood. And to see African Americans who are becoming Tuskegee Airmen, first of all, you have to have a degree to become an officer in the military. So these men all had degrees, all of these African American men from all over the U.S. coming to the Tuskegee Institute to become airmen. And then they still were being discriminated against, even though they had a degree from an institution, and even though they were in the military, they were still and being an officer, they were still being segregated against, but they still kept pushing. And it is definitely moved me internally. It's in so many different ways, because I'm like, okay, if they could go through everything that they went through and still succeed, then there's no reason why I can't today. So I would say the Tuskegee Institute was my highlight moment on the trip. But the entire trip, I just want to put that out there. I never planned it like, I want to go on this trip next year. It was something I had just learned about, and Columbus State sent me on. My department, the Global Diversity and Inclusion Department, we went as a department, and I still didn't really know what I was going to be getting myself into. And it was one of the best decisions I could ever make. I'm so glad I didn't cancel or anything, because by Friday, I was tapped out. I couldn't take in any more information. I was on overload.
That happens.
So I have to go for the next 2 or 3 years just so I can pick up the many things that I didn't catch or didn't get a chance to really take in and learn. So I'm excited about this program.
How does what you experienced on the tour translate into the work that you do? That work that you were doing at Columbus State, and your journey?
Man, it's definitely, this trip has definitely helped me just in my own personal goals. Because I tell people all the time, my mother, she went back to school and got an associate's. She went back and got her bachelor's and her master's. And we still lived in the projects right outside of Baltimore, Maryland, even though she had a master's degree. 1-bedroom apartment, me, her, and my sister. And my father didn't have a high school diploma. And he got involved in some illegal activities, went to prison for 7 years, got out. Now he's back in prison for 17 years. And I never really knew my father like that, but he always was financially stable, a lot more than my mother was. So school was never at the top of my priorities as a child. And growing up, I've seen my father was able to provide financially for all of the family, my grandparents, my aunts, my cousins, everybody. My father always had money. So growing up, and even up until this tour, I've been so money driven, and I see throughout this tour, I was reading a book and it says something about there's a difference between success and significance, and we went to the Rosa Parks Museum. I'm like, this woman, nobody's going to remember me if I had $1 billion, but for me to change lives, to inspire, to empower, to impact as many people as I possibly can, that is what's going to stand 100 years from now when I'm gone. It's not me chasing the money. It's not that. And just to see so many of these extraordinary people, these leaders in the civil rights movement, it's definitely helped me want to impact more and lead more to, okay, Frank, let's see what it is that you've been through, and how can you take your testimony and how can you help some of the people here in the community. How can you impact the most amount of people? Not just chase the money, chase the money, chase the money so you can have a Mercedes Benz, a big old house. I mean, that would be nice. You know, I mean, it would be nice. But I think there's so much more to life than just that. Because, I mean, you can go to that Rosa Parks Museum today and still be inspired. And I mean, 100 years from now, you would go there 100 years from now and still be inspired. Right. And to me, that means a lot more than money.
Right.
So.
Nobody's going to be inspired by your Benz, which will be rusted by the time it's 100 years old.
Right. Absolutely.
So, wow, that's an incredible, that's an incredible perspective. Edna, back to you. What say you about what you just heard?
Just hearing that, just that alone is confirmation that investing in you and in you is so worth it. And you're absolutely correct. It's not about how much you have. It's about what you do with what you've got. So and you're absolutely correct. It's not about success. It is about significance. And just that little minuscule investment, just that giving back, what you just said just made it so worth it. Make me want to do it again and again and again.
And for every person in our viewing audience that's going to see and hear your words, you are going to continue to touch many people. Just those, there's power in your words.
Yes.
Well, and I think, and that's, you know, why we continue to do this. Why we feel as though it's so important to on this tour we do have, you know, some older folk, and what we make sure that we have a good contingent of young people, and we only take one bus because of the fact that we want to make sure that we have this one family. You know, we have people coming from all over the place to be on this bus, don't necessarily know each other. Some do, some don't, but then we leave as a family. Yeah. And so we know each other. So this is something that you know, some of us lifelong friends and what have you, but also staying in contact to really continue to mentor. That's why I'm so glad, Lucy, that you were here, because I mean, I'm telling you, when you got up there and spoke, that was just like, that's something that you remember forever. Yes. And so from that, you're making like a continual impact and being significant, as Frank said. So. This is something that we want to continue to do. So let's kind of shift gears and applying that to today. You know, there's so many things that are going on that we see in the news about things that are going on around the country. How can we apply, you know, or what you learned, Lucy, and on the tour, and also Frank, and then the business piece. How can we apply that type of thing, or those entities to things that are going on today?
My thoughts on that is that with you, Lucy, and I think it is just remarkable that you were able to step outside yourself and put yourself in a position of the persons who lived through that, the 16th Street Baptist Church incident, to say, you know, if it were me, that I think is key to all of us remembering what has happened in our past. Because if we can't empathize with the sufferings of another, then we've missed it. We've missed the whole concept or the whole reason for us being here. If we can't step outside of ourselves, put ourselves in the shoes of another, and imagine, what would I feel like if? How would I feel if it were me? And I tell people all the time, it's about like that scene in A Time to Kill, when the whole court scene was going on, and McConaughey, is that his name? Yeah. Said, you know, well, everybody just close your eyes. And they went through that scenario, you know, imagine, and he went through every step that had happened to that little girl. And then he said, imagine if she was white. That changed the color of everything. That changed everything, because when you really close your eyes and you imagine yourself being in a position of someone in pain, it changes the whole flavor. And the reality is this: even though this is different, right? This is different. If we closed our eyes, or if we were to really think about it, I don't see out of my ears. I don't breathe out of my mouth. Well, I do breathe out of my mouth, but it's intended to eat and take in food, right? I have 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, right? 1 bladder, 1 heart, and so do you.
Yes.
And what flows through my vein is the same thing that flows through yours. And every single 8 weeks, I'm across the street donating a pint of mine. So anybody who lays on that table who is in need of anything that sustains life, whether it's an organ or whether it's blood that flows, they don't care if it came from a female. They don't care if it came from a black person, white person, green person, purple person. They don't care if they were straight or gay. They don't care about any of that. All they care is that whatever it is that they have to give will give them life. And that's how the ultimate Almighty intended it, is that no matter what it is that I need or you need as a human being, my body is the same as yours.
Amazing. Well, and that sounds like, Lucy is so ahead of the game.
Yes,
To be
way
able to
ahead of
have
the game.
That
That
empathy.
insight, yes.
Insight and empathy for others. So once again, you're trailblazing from 6th grade.
6th grade.
And probably before that, I'd imagine.
Probably.
Right. Well, so Lucy, let's turn to you, Lucy. What do you see that from what you've learned on the tour? What can you do? What do you think that you can do from what you've learned to now you did talk about, or I'm not sure if we talked earlier about that you were talking about the freedom, the down Cincinnati,
The National Underground Railroad.
the
Freedom
Underground
Center.
Railroad, that you're already talking about that to others. Tell us, what can you do, or is that spreading the word?
Well, I think I could tell them the places that I went. So, like, I talked to the 4th grade at my school about the trip that I went on.
Oh, great.
And also, like, if I hear people criticizing African American people, I could tell them what, like, the important things that they did, so they would stop, and so they
Okay.
wouldn't be criticized.
Wow. Okay. So you've already been to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're making a difference already.
So yeah.
That is great. Well, we'll have to have you start to go on tour or something. Really talking to, because I really think that you'd be great at some of the other schools though too, to talk to some of the other. Now you're in 6th grade, so do you still stay at the same school going into 7th grade next
Yes.
year? Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we still got a couple years left at that school. We can continue to have those presentations. Well, great. Well, let's turn to Frank. Frank, what are you gonna do with it? Where do we see, how do we impact,
Man.
today?
Well, like Miss Edna was saying, trying to get people to see from the movie Time to Kill at the end in the court scene. I try to, every time I come in contact with younger people, I try to get them to see where they could potentially be, where us as a human body in the U.S. can be. Because I think just sometimes talking about the past, even though I think you need to know the past before you can know the future or figure out where you're going, like Ms. Henry was saying in the beginning. But the reality is, in the inner city, most African Americans, the youth, they don't care. Where I grew up, it was what you want to be when you grow up. I want to be a hustler. I want to be a drug dealer. Like, this is what kids were saying, and this is what kids still are saying right here on the south side of Columbus. Mm-hmm. I live right here on the south side of Columbus, and I catch the bus to school, Columbus State, every day. I don't have a car, so I catch the number 1, and I listen to the conversations that people talk about. I see the single parent mothers getting on the bus, and the reality is, if I say, hey, let me tell you about what I learned on the Civil Rights Store, listen, I'm not trying to hear that. I got 10 bags of groceries and 3 kids.
Right.
Like, how can you help me right now?
Right.
And it's such a now moment. So sometimes when I'm meeting with younger kids, I try to use like indirect methods, I guess, when I'm speaking to them, not necessarily saying, hey, did you know Rosa Parks did this? Or, saying, what would you do if your sister died in the church from a bombing? What would you do? I just try to, instead of trying to tell them about history, but try to give them,
that connect them emotionally.
Right. And they're just like, man, I would go crazy. Oh, for real? And, but I just try to, paint the picture so I guess they could feel it, I guess, emotionally. Mm-hmm. But also I'm not sure how to fix the problem or how to take what it is that I've learned on this trip to impact more people. It was so much information that I did learn. I mean, it was so much information. But I will say a huge thing that I think is lacking is education, especially in the African American community. And there are African Americans who are excelling academically, but I would say, in my opinion, most of them they were raised in that environment of academics. I mean, if you look at like the state's attorney, Marilyn from Baltimore, she has 5 generations of law enforcement in her family. So you're talking great grandparents. So, you know, she graduated from high school, got her bachelor's degree in 4 years, and then got her law degree in 3 years, and she did it right on target. But then you look, well, what kind of household did she grow up in? Like, how does somebody who doesn't have family members who have high school diplomas, how do they defy the odds? Like, how is that? Let alone trying to learn about civil rights movement or learn about history. So, you know, how do we put an emphasis on education, which I think it would fix a whole lot of problems if people thought more logically about their decision makings. But how do we implement all this information and want people to be more educated, want people to learn more about history, want people to not more just be so driven for the money and the jury and this flashy life. And when impact and leaving a legacy, you write a book, your book is here for centuries. You know, you chase money, the money's gone instantly. So somebody could pick up a book 100 years from now and read it and be inspired. That is wealth to me. And this trip has only put more emphasis on what is the true meaning of life in general. So I'm not sure how, but I'm still figuring it out. So
you're showing that you can make a difference right where you are,
yes.
And just by changing your own mindset, and that someone is observing you, someone is paying attention to what you are doing, and always remembering that no matter how far out you come, we are still the same people. No matter what our skin color is, no matter where we live, we are still all connected as one.
True.
So everything that you do makes an impact, whether you see it, whether you believe that you cognitively understand the solution. Just by Frank being Frank, just by you being yourself, you are making a difference.
I will just add, because I tell people all the time, I'm not the most articulate person. I'm like right in between, you know.
Give yourself more credit.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
Give yourself more credit.
I spoke at the Academy.
I'm hearing you very clearly.
I spoke at the Academy of Urban Scholars, which is right here on Broad Street. It's a reentry program for high school students that didn't complete their high school diploma. And I was on the bus on the number 1, and I went and spoke, and then like a week later, some kids got on the bus, and they were like, "Oh, you was the guy that came and spoke to us. Right. Man, you got to come back. Because I got more from you than I get from my teacher." And that touched me.
Right. Wow.
That was more than a 6-figure salary. I mean, it was like, wow, you know. And I went in there, I had a suit on, shirt and tie, and at first they didn't know how to read me. But, you know, guy had his foot up on the chair. I'm like, "What's up? How y'all doing? Y'all good? Y'all all right?" All right, well, you know, when I was in high school, I didn't care about education either. And I see some of y'all, that's how y'all sitting in here. But let me tell you, it's important, and you need it. And that's how I spoke to them. And when they got on the bus, it was like three students, and that touched me. So
you're real, and you're right there with them. Grassroots.
You make a difference.
Well, and I tell you, and you made a difference. You're making a difference, Lucy. And you're making. I mean, so that's the thing that we have to believe in ourselves. You know, that all of us have the opportunity, and we can make a difference. And also, what I'm hearing from you, Frank, though, is the opportunities and access to education, and to a good education. To be able to then make those good decisions in the future. And then communication. You know, you got to be able to communicate, and which, I mean, to all people. So
and
you know,
tell your story.
And to tell your story.
It's a story worth telling. If you lived it, it's worth telling.
It's worth telling.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
Go ahead. Did you have?
Yeah, I was just going to say that in closing, it reminds me so much of Rosa Parks and how she said that she wasn't doing anything special. She did what she thought anybody else would do, and that, you know, she was just tired. And when you're tired of life the way it is, you make changes. And the civil rights movement was a movement. It wasn't just something that happened overnight. It was something that cumulatively happened as a nation over many communities and many people being disenfranchised. So whatever the movement is called, I just encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. It'll find you.
Yeah, and to make that impact, because there is that movement now. When we talk about bringing up to today, in regards to the police relations with the community, and so many different things going on, not just here in the U.S. but around the world, and so there's that push for engagement, and we have different generations here who all have made a difference in the past and are doing it now.
Wow, that's right.
So,
but speaking of, I'm really curious, Edna, how did you go from being the cop who got joked about with the donuts to being the retired police officer who now sells the donuts?
And still gets joked about with the donuts.
Still get joked about it, that's right. That story is really, I mean, if I were to really tell my story, we'd probably need another show.
Okay, well, we'll invite you back then.
But the reality is, and I want to get back to that whole connecting that thing together now with the educational piece and all that, because I almost didn't graduate high school. I mean, I was a real knucklehead. So I say to folk, you're allowed to make mistakes, but you're also allowed to make a U-turn. When you see that where you're going is the wrong way, make a U-turn, go back, start over, do a do-over. Because the reality is that you have an opportunity to make it right. And even with everything and with the chaos that's going on right now, we all have an opportunity to make it right.
I love that. I hear so many people, when you hear about a young person getting in trouble and then they go looking into their past and they say, they were he or she was no angel, and you're like, does that person really get a fair shake at making some mistakes? And you're right. You can make mistakes, and you can also make a U-turn.
You can make a U-turn. You can graduate college. Woohoo! You can do all that. You can go from one profession to another, from being an officer to owning your own business. You can do all of that. The possibilities are there, but it's up to the individual to prove them wrong.
Even if
all
you're
the
first
negative
generation.
things. Yes.
And I want to say that for you, Frank. Even if you're first generation. Even if you're first generation, where does it start? How do you fix it? You start with yourself.
With yourself.
Just start with you.
With that man in the mirror.
Yeah.
Or
first
that sounds like a
generation
good
in my
song.
family.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Man in the mirror.
Sounds like it was a song. Do you know that song?
You know the song?
Of course you do. You have an old soul. Do people tell you that? No. You do. You have an old soul.
We should end the segment with the Man in the Mirror song. So we'll have to have Andy cue in the
I don't think we have the rights to it.
Oh, we don't have the rights. Okay, well, we can't do that.
Right, we have to pay royalties.
Well, but we can say
We
that
can mention it.
Right.
we can mention it, and we can say that we are going to continue to look at ourselves and how that we can continue to make that impact. And so I want, I would like to do like a show like every year and bring you three back and say, okay, how did you make your impact this year? Especially you, because you've got so much more time ahead of you, and we want to make sure, we want to see what's, and I love your shirt. That's a great shirt.
I wonder who designed it.
Yeah.
Well, Napoleon, I'd like to say a special thank you to you as well, because doing the Civil Rights Tour is not actually in your job description. It's something that you've chosen, a legacy that you've chosen to keep going from Director Stowe, and you put a lot of time and effort into making that trip happen. And
Well,
I don't know how you do it.
No, you see why, though.
Yeah, I see why, but people don't understand that.
This is representative of two of the folk, and we have so many others that are on the tour.
There's 50 more stories like this. Wow.
It really is. And so we really appreciate, and we'll continue to do this. So with that, I know we're out of time, but I love to say thank you, Edna. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you. And Frank, thank you for being here. Well, that's it for today, and we hope that you enjoyed the show. If you want to find out more information about the Columbus Community Relations Commission, please go to our website at www.crc.columbus.gov, but also give us a call at 645-1993. If you've got something great going on in your community, we want to know about it so that we can highlight you and your community to lift up all communities here in the city of Columbus. Have a great week and take care.